Welcome back everyone to another video. Today we're going to be grading all 26 men who made it to the Canada men's national team camp in March. We're coming off of a 2-2 draw versus Iceland and a 0-0 draw versus Tunisia. Not the results we wanted, but they were both still full of action, and I was at both those games. So if you want to watch the vlogs of those, you can click in the corner right there. First things first, I'm going to cover the 5 players out of the 26-man roster that didn't participate in either games. Alistair Johnson and Moise Bombito both were at the camp, but they weren't fit enough to participate yet. Unfortunately, Moise Bombito's injury seems to not be progressing well, to the point where Canada has started to work with Nice on a recovery plan to see if we can get him back for the World Cup. Fingers crossed. Additionally, 3 other players that didn't happen to get any minutes in either of the fixtures was Bim Peppel from Plymouth Argyle. He got called up for the first time. I really thought we were going to get to see him against Tunisia, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Owen Goodman didn't get into any games as expected. St. Clair started the first and Crepeau started the other. We'll get to those later. I still think Goodman is our keeper of the future. I fully expect him to be our starting keeper for the next World Cup cycle, but keep an eye out on him because he might start to get some minutes in the coming years. And the last player of the 26 that didn't get any minutes was Luc de Fouilleroz. Coming off an injury from March, he was unfortunately still not fit enough to play, and we certainly could have used it. On to everyone's favorite position first, goalkeepers. In the first game, Dane St. Clair played, and while he didn't have much to do, in the occurrences where he could have done something, unfortunately, he couldn't. He still seems hesitant to come off his line and doesn't instill me with any confidence. I'm going to give him a C-. Maxime Crepeau got the start between the sticks against Tunisia, and he was much improved over St. Clair. He made himself look very big on a few key counters that Tunisia had, and most importantly, wasn't afraid to come off his line to clear the ball when necessary. I think Maxime Crepeau should be our starting keeper against Bosnia when the World Cup kicks off. I'm going to give him a B-. On to our defenders. First up, Derek Cornelius. He only played about 15 minutes against Iceland, had a bigger cameo against Tunisia, but he wasn't much of note, which is sometimes good for a defender. I think in general, it was just good to see him back out there after his injury. I'm going to give him a C. Richie Laryea, as we can all agree, was solid as always. He continues to be Canada's most underrated player. For the March window, he's going to get a B. Jaquil Marshall-Rutty, I actually expected to be a part of the group at the top of the video that didn't get an appearance, but he did make a quick cameo against Tunisia. He didn't have much of an impact. I'm just going to give him a C. Kamal Miller. Easily one of the worst performances I've seen from a defender in a first half of a game since arguably Dejan Lovren against Spurs in 2017. If you know, you know. He was better against Tunisia when he was forced on due to Prizo's injury, but that does not make up for his performance against Iceland. This might have been the last time we see him in a Canada shirt. F. Ralph Prizo is a tough one. He only played 26 minutes before coming off with a hamstring injury, but those 26 minutes were very strong. He has a lot of potential. I'm going to give him a B-. Nico Segur seemed a bit outmatched against Iceland. He was better against Tunisia, but overall I was a bit disappointed with how he played in this window because he's really impressed in recent ones. I'm going to give him a C-. Joel Waterman. I think he was alright. He was forced into a lot of minutes due to the other injuries to our defensemen. He wasn't great, he wasn't bad. He was forced to play alongside Kamal Miller for a lot of this window. I'll give him a C. On to the midfield. Ali Ahmed was solid against Iceland. He created quite a few chances, but couldn't find the back of the net. Against Tunisia off the bench, he didn't make much of an impact, which was a bit of a disappointment because he's had a fiery start to his career at Norwich. For this window, I'll give him a B-. Tajon Buchanan was arguably our best player against Iceland before he got sent off. He was taking on everyone on their defense with every dribbling move that he had in his arsenal, and even won us Jonathan David's first penalty. I'm looking forward to seeing more of him in the June window. For me, he gets an A-. Matthew Chouanier was thrown into the starting 11 against Iceland, and unfortunately, he didn't have a great appearance. He was on a lot of the corners and set pieces, and unfortunately, they fell flat. The biggest takeaway is we were really missing Stefan Eustáquio. I'm going to give him a C-. Marcelo Flores might be the biggest bright spot from this March window. He came into camp with those bright red cornrows, but his play did the talking. He was really impressive on the ball and created endless chances. He is a serious contender for significant minutes at the 2026 World Cup. For this March window, he gets an A. Junior Hoylett made a cameo appearance against Tunisia, only playing 14 minutes. He had one decent chance, but he shot it straight at the keeper. At this point in his career, he's more of a leadership presence in the locker room more than anything. For this window, he gets a C. Ismail Kone missed the first game against Iceland due to the red card he got against Venezuela, but in the game against Tunisia, I thought he was alright. I expected a bit more because of his form in Italy has been so great recently, but like Chouanier, I think our midfield is really missing Eustachio when he's not there. I'll give Ismail Kone a C+. Liam Miller's an interesting one. After the Iceland game, I had him at a C-. He came off the bench, tripped over the ball, and almost injured himself within 30 seconds. But man, that performance against Tunisia, undeniable. He had multiple great chances and arguably the play of the game, the goal line clearance. Easily his best performance in a Canada shirt. He's gonna get a B. Jonathan Osorio was okay, didn't do much of note, but I thought he brought good energy off of the bench against Tunisia. I'll give him a C. With Nathan Saliba, I expected more. I thought this was going to be a breakout window for him with the opportunities available in the midfield, but it just fell flat. Unfortunately for him, it looks like he's going to be more of a bench option in the upcoming World Cup. For the March window, I'm going to give him a C. On to the forwards. First up, Daniel Jebbison. I actually thought he was very solid off the bench against Iceland, even winning us the second penalty that tied the game. Against Tunisia off the bench, he was okay, but didn't do much of value. I think this is probably his best window since joining the Canadian side. I'll give him a B-. Kyle Larin. What can I say? I had really high hopes. You've been kicking it off with Southampton in England, but unfortunately, that form didn't follow you here to Toronto. You were almost non-existent in the game against Iceland, and you didn't play at all in the game against Tunisia. For this March window, unfortunately, I'm going to have to give you a D. See, Tani Alawase was better than Larin, but that's not saying much. He didn't perform very well against Tunisia. The few good chances he had, he skied over the bar. Because of that, I'm going to have to give him a C-. Russell Rowe is another name I thought was going to be a non-participant in this camp, but just like Hoylett and Marshall Ruddy, he made a cameo appearance. While it was very short, I still have to give him a grade. I'll give him a C. Last but not least, Jonathan David, the Iceman. Against Iceland, he scored both of his penalties, securing us the 2-2 draw. But against Tunisia, he wasn't much of a factor. Expectations for David are sky high, especially with Alphonso Davies out of the lineup. Unfortunately for Jonathan, I think his strike partners let him down in this window. Regardless, his ability to convert from the spot and being the only person who scored for us in this window, he earns a B+. And just like that, that's all 26 members of the Canada's men's national team that was at the March international window. Disagree with any of my ratings? Leave your ratings in the comments below. I would love to hear them. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. It lets me know that you want to see more of it. As always, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, we will see you later.